I think I'll tell you about meeting Dave. Dave worked in Boston. He grew up in Dorchester. He was the oldest of a family of three, and he was a wonderful brother to and son in his family. His mother, unfortunately, was not well, and he assumed a lot of responsibility for the family. He worked part-time when he was going to school at someone called Saks, who had a grocery store on Blue Hill Avenue. Blue Hill Avenue was one of the most popular streets in Dorchester, full of Jewish stores and delis, and everybody knew about Blue Hill Avenue. And he used to deliver food in a push cart to people in the morning before he went to work. One funny story was that he had to deliver a quarter of a pound of cream cheese every morning to this person. And when they suggested maybe that she would buy a half pound and not have to have it delivered every morning, she said no, it had to be fresh. So there it was, delivered every morning by Dave. And when Dave's employer, Max Saks' daughter, it was his wife's sister was going to get married, and she was going to marry Frank Cutler, my first cousin here in Worcester. So that really was unusual. And Dave and of his best friend, Saul Kushner, were asked to be not best man, ushers at the wedding. So when we left Worcester, we drove into Boston, we came, and I don't know how I landed up at Max Saks' house, but I was given a bottle of liquor to hold, and I was introduced eventually to Dave. When we got to the wedding, he and his friend paid complete attention to me. It was at the Hotel Bradford in Boston, and they had this a machine where you posed and you could take pictures, and Dave and I took pictures that night that we had for many, many years until they faded. And the funny part was that this Frank Cutler got married, but he had two sisters, and they assumed that Dave and his friend Saul were going to be attentive to them. And they didn't tell Dave and Saul, because they probably would have done that if they had told them. But since they didn't tell them, and obviously I appealed to Dave, we spent the evening together. And of course, Dave didn't have a car. He lived in Boston, in Dorchester, and when he wanted to come out to see me, he borrowed Max's car and came out. And the first time he came, I don't know how it happened, but I was teamed up with Saul, and he was teamed up with one of my friends. But the next time he came, he made sure that he went with me. Of course, he always said that he owed our relationship to the fact that you could come from Boston to Worcester for $1. Their round trip on the train, which he used to do on a Sunday, and then he used to take the trolley car up Providence Street. I think we were living at Wabash Ave at that time, but I looked forward, of course, very much. He was enamored of me, because when he got back to Boston, he said to one of his boyfriend's mothers, "I met the girl I'm going to marry." And she said, "Oh, you crazy pooch. You always talking." He says, "No, it's true." Didn't have a penny to his name, but he knew who he was going to marry. And he did write me almost every single day a letter for many, many years, for a couple of years before we got married. We got married at quite an early age. I was only 20 and he was 23. At that point, I was going to college. I had gone to Worcester State for a year, and then Clark, which was a boys' college, and quite well known because even Freud came to Worcester to speak at Clark. They opened their doors to women, and Thelma and I were in the first class that went to Clark. Thelma graduated. I went for a half a year, and then I decided I wanted to get married. And I couldn't go to school and get married. That was unheard of. So I had the option to either go to college or get married, and I decided I wanted to get married. And that was what we did.